Alright guys, what is up? Welcome to the CS Out Here podcast with our host, me, Saga, and our other co-host and the man himself, NartOutHere.
Hello, welcome.
We got some guests, some of them are familiar faces. We have our main guest today, starting from ATK, MisteM.
Hello.
We got the boy here, that Paladin.
What's up, man?
We
Good
got
to be here.
Koi. We got the Koi himself,
Yo.
and we got Sai. Five.
Look, we're doing this again. I'm
We're
on
doing
for two
this-
consecutive shows, and now he still can't get me right. But what's
I
up,
am
guys?
so tired. All right, boys. So far, how's everyone's week going? Before we start this off,
I mean, we're eating good with Cologne, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's been some really
Dude.
good games. Got some good upsets.
that's
My week is 1 out of 7 right now. But you know that one overpowers all the other 6. Team Liquid got the win today.
Who is your other
Nice.
6?
I mean, like every other day is just progressively
Oh,
worse and worse and
okay.
worse as Team Liquid lose everything. But you know,
Hey man, Team Liquid helped you out today.
yeah.
I'm
No, it made
tired.
my week from average or like a 4 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. Are you kidding me?
All right, but before we talk about Liquid and its amazing victory, which all the NA boys here are really happy about, we're gonna hit on the play-in first.
Yeah. I guess I'll start. I mean, we kind of started with like some Preds. I think some of you guys weren't here. Some of you guys weren't. I think the biggest surprise of the play-ins, well, coming from the play-ins, I guess, is Movistar Riders.
Oh,
They
they're
absolutely
good.
battered Vitality. It wasn't even
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, I put in my fantasy league, like this is my predictions from last week. Vitality was going through easy peasy, easiest bracket ever. Nah, Riders clapped him. Riders slaughtered.
And they
Doesn't.
Yeah, I have it pulled up here. 16-13, 16-4.
Mm-hmm.
And Senpai's, dude, I didn't know he was that good until like watching the demos. He came out of nowhere for me as an opper.
The thing is, he's not like the most consistent guy. He's been doing good work here and there. But this was like his kind of statement piece, and he's kind of not looked back at this event. Like, he's been playing so well. Like, he's hitting every necessary shot. It's not anything like flashy per se, but he's just getting the job done, and it's just creating so much space on the map. I've just been in love with watching him play, and especially on Overpass, like a map that historically is a terrible map for Movistar Riders, and just battering Overpass against Vitality of all teams. That was impressive for me.
I'm also a Mopaz hype man. I'll give it to him as well. I think I've had some stock on him as a player for a long time. Since like 2020 days when he was integrated, when Movistar was like an international lineup. I think Mopaz has always been such a talent, and he's now, I think it's kind of coming out as official. He's tier 1 rifler.
Yeah, they've actually peaked at a really good time coming from Valencia, winning Valencia, and then playing really well in this event so far, which we'll touch base with them later regarding the group stage. But
yeah,
what other teams got the?
Let's talk about Big. Biggest that's biggest failure. Because they beat
brutal, right?
They beat Order, which is pretty easy for them, and then the big shocker was losing 2-0 to Outsiders.
Were they playing with Keto or Fathom?
Yeah, Keto.
Yeah, Keto.
Yeah, that's pretty rough for them. Like playing with a standard and whatever, despite like Keto being part of that team, it's like he's not really like playing a tier 1 for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they're one of the teams that feel like they have kind of like a more rigid understanding of how to play the game. So like having someone that might be a little bit uncomfortable like really sets them back, I feel.
Yeah.
And I mean, the problem is like their map pool just automatically shrinks, and they have to like restrict themselves with how they're playing. And like I expected them to win Dust 2, but I guess those 50-50 games, you kind of rely on that heavy system of Big, and it's unlucky what happened to them. And I think that Astralis came to play this tournament. We'll definitely talk about them when we move on to the main stage. But like looking back, it's like that loss isn't really the worst thing in the world. And all said and done, like they got pretty unlucky with this bracket, I'd say.
Their perma ban was Inferno prior to this tournament, and they're perma banning Ancient all of a sudden. What do you guys make of that?
The reason why is they played a specific match where they floated it and they just destroyed another team. I think it was.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was at Rubet. Who was that against?
And I'm not really sure what team it was, but I think after they did that, they've kind of been like toying with the idea of like letting other people pick it into them instead of and they're basically just floating it and winning every time. But I guess this time it kind of backfired because you can't do that again and again because at some point the tape is too much and your tendencies are too expansive and people will punish you, and I think that's what ended up happening.
And do you guys see that photo of Tizian?
Sad.
Yeah, like not being able to qualify to one of the biggest tournaments and in your country, and it's got to be heartbreaking for them.
Yeah, I mean, even like prior to this event, I think they were touted as one of the favorites. Look, I keep in mind, like, keep in context, sure, it's an online cup, but they destroyed in Rubet with Keto, even. I don't even think the Keto thing was a problem for them during Rubet. And coming into this event, I touted them as a favorite to easily destroy their side of the bracket and just, clap Outsiders easy. The Outsiders have been looking shaky. Not that they're out of form to say, but they're still getting into their form. I think Outsiders still have a peak to hit. Yeah, they still have a peak to hit. But for Big, I thought surely they sweep that aside. They're into the main stage, and not necessarily sure if they can make it directly to playoffs, but they're still they were like a top at least 8 team there.
Yeah, there were 9 going into the tournament, right?
Yeah,
so it felt like they were a shoo-in, frankly, but. I mean, what I've been noticing is this tournament in general, it's just making me realize that I wish Rubet Cut didn't happen because I think seriously, it's like I wish that there was I think there's some serious fatigue for like all of these teams, and they all look so uncomfortable, and you can see just body language wise, they're all just like kind of like, okay, let's just get to the next series and the next series, and like everybody just so jet lagged. And if that Rubet Cup didn't happen, it was like a week or 2 weeks break of just nothing, and this would have been such a sick tournament. And like I think you guys have all seen like tweets of like Ents and stuff where they're like no pressure Furia with like the number of teams that are remaining, and I believe it's just number 1 and 2 now that are just remaining from the top 10. And to me it's like I target fatigue as an issue and just the way people schedule this out.
This is why I respect Navi. They didn't even play Rubet. They took after the the Blast win. We're gonna take a week off. We'll go 2 weeks off, whatever.
Yeah.
Rest it up, and then look what they're doing now. I think that's a key factor.
Remember? Go ahead.
I think it's also sort of part of the conversation regarding like having the player break after the major as well, because a lot of those teams are now looking forward to their summer break, and Cologne, while it's important, isn't necessarily like the most important event for them, and you can see that sort of reflected in the amount of preparation that's going into these games and how serious these games are being taken.
I mean, I think somebody brought it up. I think it was YNK, but he was like, the major should be the last tournament of the season, and then like Cologne could be like the first tournament back.
Yeah,
like,
that'd be sick.
That would completely change how you think about
to go on that. When did the major end? Like it was like the
end of May? Was it end of May?
Yeah, end of May, I think.
Mid-May.
Like okay, so yeah, if they did May 20th, whatever it was, 21st Pacific date, and then take all June off and it's July, that'd be have a whole June off player break, be a perfect reign to Cologne to start.
Isn't that what the CSPPA just tried to do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no one liked that.
No one liked those dates, though.
I don't think they've confirmed the dates, though. Like, that's the only thing. It's like Valve has to be that final say, and I hope that they make the right decision to put that as the last tournament, because it's just a good way to like end the season. Like, and you can definitely see in the minds of FaZe, they're kind of like, okay, well, we've won the major, and no matter what they say, there will always be something in the back of their head, like, we've kind of done the big thing. Now let's take a break. Like we can kind of like step off the pedal a little bit. Like there's always that nagging feeling for all of these teams. Like no matter who won the major and who won beyond that, there's always a nagging feeling that the break's around the corner.
You definitely need a break after the major because of how much hours you put in to prep for the major. It's just insane.
A mental strain,
yeah,
right? It's such a mental strain.
A week later, they have to go to IEM Dallas. It's like, why? It's crazy.
So. Yeah, I mean, most of it's just burnout, to be honest. Like, you need to. I don't know. It's kind of like hard because you need to be able to balance it. So like getting back to like Navi taking that break, I think it was also good for them because they were able to like do some practice with Sundar Young as well, because like that 1 week break, you can actually get some map work done. And burnout is like no joke. It's really straining, and like some of the tweets that some people are putting out, like interview that like Twist had, he said that they were suffering from burnout and the results have been lackluster. But yeah, I mean, CS is just mentality. Like 90% of the game is just mental.
Definitely.
Let's move on from Big, and next team we should talk about is Mouse in the play-in. You know, going into the play-in, they were in very bad shape, losing a lot. You know, not playing too well, and they lost. No, they beat Pain 1916, and then they lost in a close fashion against Heroic, and then the lower bracket stage they 2-0'd Tyloo to get in. But that's just quickly about Mouse. We'll touch more about Mouse in the group stage. And then next team let's talk about is
we can hit all the Brazilian teams right now.
Right now, Pain, 0-0 Nation,
0-0,
MIBR.
That's my shout, honestly. 0-0 I think came in and definitely performed way above their caliber that people expected them to.
I didn't think they would hit the ground running as they did. That was the main thing, because just putting in a new core into that lineup is something that wouldn't necessarily work out immediately, at least with the success that they had at the tournament. And I think that hopefully in the future, like, I think the main problem right now is just coldzera needs to find his identity. Like, he needs to kind of understand what his role is going to be, and if they can figure that out, if Taco is willing to have that conversation with him and coldzera is able to put his ego aside, like, this team could be really good, like, genuinely.
I think coldzera is playing very selflessly, all things said, watching him play. I think the era of coldzera being a baiter is very much over, and he is him and Taco are stepping aside to allow this trio of Lotto, Try, and Dumao absolutely own.
The old guard letting the new guys shine.
Dumao is known, like, from the last broadcast with Yell and these interviews. Dumao is gonna be the next big Brazilian star, according to everybody. So,
I used him as like the Brazilian simple. I mean, like, I don't know how he's like 18, 19, and the guy already has 20,000 hours in the game. Like, all he does is just play Counterstrike.
And you played against him, right, MisteM?
Yeah, he's like a really good player. Like when we play like Mirage with him, it's always kind of like Dumao's gonna be in connector. Like, we need to make sure that we actually like double peek him, because he's always good for 2. Like, he's just naturally like got that talent and gift for the game.
And there was a report that Liquid wanted to sign him, and he literally said no.
Yeah, I think like part of that reason is like you want to kind of play for a team that's from like your country. Like, you know, he's playing with all of like these big names like Taco and things like that. It's people that he's probably looked up to when he's like growing up playing the game.
It feels like there's a belief as well in that system that they're all buying into what Taco is saying, and I think that's something that's really difficult with like youngsters just in general, like where they kind of want to do their own thing, and it's really hard to like wrangle them all in. And I think he's doing a wonderful job that they all have the confidence to, you know, trust what he's saying and also have that individuality to like kind of do what they want across the map. I don't know. I've really been enjoying watching them play. I hope we get to see more of them.
I think we will. I think they gotta start picking it up, even getting better every tournament they play in. That's why I think.
I think 0-0 Nation have the building blocks. I think they have the firepower to compete with the top teams in the world. They just gotta, you know, everyone gets to find an identity, get on the same page, and they can easily be like a top 15 contender.
So when I woke up, I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they upset Astralis."
I saw it coming.
Oh, you did?
Honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, I even this current Astralis that we see in this tournament, I have no faith they're gonna be able to win their quarterfinal game.
Well, I mean, Zipnix is having a sort of renaissance. Like, we haven't had that in months, so I don't think that in and of itself is a huge red flag for me.
Config too, Paladin. He's woken up. Somebody found him on the milk carton. Okay.
I think with the 0-0 Nation Astralis game, I think it was literally the map. Like, they went for Mirage, and
they flubbed the veto, right?
Yeah, I can understand like the standpoint of like Astralis going for Mirage, because you don't really know what 0-0 Nation is going to pick, because they're kind of in that honeymoon period. You don't know what sort of like map they're going to play. You don't know like what they've been practicing. So I guess in like terms of picking Mirage, it's kind of a map where you can take a lot more like aim duels, and when you have like the people that are on Astralis, like BlameF and Config, like they should be able to like carry that team just based off their aim and things like that. But it like also, if you're going to be basing it off of aim, you also have like Dumao and Latta that have been like probably what the best performance ever. Like when we were playing Godsend and like some of our qualifiers, it wasn't even Dumao or anyone. It was literally Latta dropping like 30 on us, and I was just like, "What is this guy on?" Like, there's something that he's changed, and it's when you have two people like that are like youngsters and are like able to just hit shots, then it becomes a little bit scary, especially on a map like Mirage.
All right, so we can take. We can all agree that Zero Nation has a lot of potential with these. With this lineup, with the experienced players alongside the young prospects.
Definitely.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
Okay. The other Brazilian teams, who do we have? MIBR and Imperial. Imperial continuing their losing streak, not in good form. Fallen said in the post-game interview after losing to Zero Nation that they've been playing a lot of events. They're burnt out. They're gonna take the player break, come back stronger. So that's Imperial, and then MIBR with that new IGL switch from Woody to who's IGLing for them now? I know they picked up Burson, Cello.
Yeah.
So they're struggling right now with that move. We'll see what they can do coming back from the player break. Let's talk about Cole.
I don't wanna talk about Cole. You know what?
I don't want to talk about Cole.
Oh, that was not a fun game to watch.
Okay.
So many 2v4s, you know, big man advantages.
Who are we talking about? When they played Spirit or when they played Astralis?
Every game I watched. It was so painful to watch because they cough up man advantages. Oh man, I mean, if they were playing against NA, they'd smoke them like 100%. But every single mistake that they made in a mid round situation, they got dunked on for. Junior had a better tournament. Junior played better.
He actually played decent.
He played decent,
but I don't think that's going to be enough to hold him here.
Right. It's not against Spirit, and I guess in a better form Astralis. I still don't believe in this Astralis. We'll get into that later when we talk about the main groups.
I think with this,
oh, go ahead, MisteM.
I think with this complexity team, like it's very. I just think they have too many star players like in that roster. I don't think there's like anyone that's willing to kind of just run in and do like what they need to for the team. I think like everyone wants to perform and like get the stats. Like I could be completely wrong, but I just like look at those names and like other than JT, which is just kind of like he's just someone that's like super selfless.
Yeah.
Like I do want to like shout out like Fang. He's been playing really good despite like their results. Like he's been putting up a lot of numbers, and I think like he doesn't get credit for that. And he's like grinding a lot, deathmatch and things like that. When I speak to him or whatever he posts on social media, like he is grinding, and it's not as if they're like not trying. It just kind of just seems like they don't have that motivation. They kind of just look drained. They look like robots when I like see them on the webcams and things. So I just think there's so much stuff going on behind the scenes.
What's happening with Cole, guys?
I mean, they have like only a couple best of threes over like wins over like European competition, or I know there's
not even. They have like one.
Yeah, it's like some ridiculous statistic like that, and you can just see the confidence on them. They're just drained. Like these players are such a far cry from where they were when they joined this team and this project was assembled. And you can just see like the interviews that they're putting out. They're like, oh well, we at least like all these teams are scared that like they don't want to be the first team to lose to us.
I don't know.
That is
that's not the mindset you want.
It's a brutal situation there, and I don't even know where to start for them to fix things. You know, like is it a break? Is it cutting Junior? Like is it even bringing in just like a supportive element? Like there are so many different issues that I don't even think there's like a one move just fixes everything automatically.
Yeah. On paper, this team looked amazing. Like on paper, like when this team was put together, even these days, you see the names like Fang MVP in his first international tournament. You have Floppy, who has just been consistent as ever. JT has always been a solid IGL. You have Junior, who had his heyday back in NA. Admittedly, of course, you can all point the blame at Junior, but surely this has to be a team element portion of it. And I mean, outside of that, really, it's and Grim, who's just been a solid anchor player for most of his career. So at least, for the last part of his career, I would say. So I mean, on paper, it looks fantastic. You have tier 1 players that are coming out from NA, the next up, so to speak, and it just feels like it never comes together.
They're just very inconsistent individually wise. Like whenever I watch Cole, you don't know who's gonna perform.
I mean, the mid rounds are painful to watch. Maybe they just get played, but yeah, they coughed up an unreasonable amount of like 3v5s, 2v4s versus Astralis that I was watching.
It's so odd to me because that was like their big strength, right? Like I thought JT was a fantastic mid-round caller in like all the North American games that I've watched of him, and I thought that was where he was going to shine. But it looks like he's just been like I don't know. Like it looks like all of these players just are like just don't really understand like what their strengths are anymore, and they're kind of falling flat.
Yeah, and to continue that, it also feels like this is maybe a hot take or something, but almost by having it be a team of like those next up players, is they're obviously going to be more kind of like, I'd say like mentally volatile or like not as consistent inherently because they don't have the experience to kind of fall back on. And it really shows, especially in like those mid rounds or something like that. Like there's just not enough voices as a team and as a unit to really push them through those tense situations. And that's why I think, when they're in North America, they'll farm everyone, right? Because every single player is going to understand how the NA teams are playing, and they're going to be able to take advantage of their individual experience and knowledge. But when it comes to the greater scale, like they're always going to fall flat until they actually have a core component that can speak up and can actually like take control of the situation when JT isn't able to, or when JT doesn't have the read.
I mean, I'd love to see a Rush on this team. Like, I feel like that might solve some kind of solutions. A very experienced player. He's been through a lot of situations. It might be a little bit more of a supportive element. Try to play a little bit more selflessly. I don't know. Maybe that could work, but I don't know if they'll take that ego hit.
That'll be. I think that's a headline we're going to touch on later. I believe, but I think there's rumors that EG were going to be benching Rush. So hey, perhaps some good news.
I can agree to Koi with the mid-round calling. Like when I spoke to people, and obviously like MOTM has played with both JT and OC, and he was telling me that like OC was a very quiet guy, but as he developed as a player, he also became like a louder voice. And I think when they lost OC, he was someone that like always spoke in the mid-round, always like gave JT like suggestions, like we should do this or this and this, and then all he needs to do is just pick one of those solutions. And I think maybe that's probably like the downfall that they have right now is they don't really have that other guy that's just helping JT, because at least from an experience for me, it's also pretty hard when like you're losing a lot and like everyone looks at you for like a solution, and if you don't have one, then it gets pretty like scary. So maybe that mid-round voice is something that they need.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. Like you have Junior, who would like the Opera is theoretically also a caller as well, because he's going to call his own plays and stuff like that. But Junior, he's not very confident in himself right now. That's going to play a big part of it. Floppy is very focused on performing his best, finding his space and stuff like that. Fang probably secondary calls a decent amount in like those situations, but he doesn't have the experience necessarily to like have the right reads. And then you have like Grim, who's sort of been like, he's an extremely talented player, but in all of the teams that he's been on, with the exception of Liquid, you can even argue in Liquid this was the case, he was always kind of being supported by more experienced players, or like in the case of like Sheikh Zula or something, right? Like he was always sort of being like not necessarily microed, but he was being cared for. And so he's not necessarily going to be the most vocal player either. And it really comes down into like, where is the team's identity beyond JT?
True.
All right, guys. Let's move on from the play-in. We'll talk about Spirit, Heroic, and Vitality when we hit the group stages. Does anyone have any last words on the play-in teams before we move on?
I took care of business. I think that's the main takeaway, I'd say.
All right, guys.
Well, let's talk about Ty. I want to say something about Ty Lu.
All right, go right ahead.
Ty Lu, they're in trouble right now because in the Asian scene, you got Rare Adam and IHC making their way up. Ty Lu hasn't looked.
Yeah.
Ty Lu's always been known to be the dominant Asian team, right? And now it's not them no more. So they have to fix something for sure. Rare
Adam is going to kick their butt. All right.
100%.
So
I unironically so excited for like this current generation of Asian CS. Like it's actually fun and like enjoyable to watch because it's a completely different style and it's so flashy and just enjoyable.
I will watch Jam Young till the day I die. Oh my god, he is so fun to watch. Their whole Valencia run was just so much fun to watch. Like they look so comfortable now, like that they had a little bit of time in EU. I think they're boot camping in Europe as well for a little while. They played the Melbourne Open qualies in the European division. They didn't want to fly back, so they're here to grind, and I hope they stick with it because there's a lot of potential with them, and I very firmly take them over a Tyloo right now, 100%.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. That's all I wanted to say.
I'll also invest in those Tyloo stickers because they're not gonna get the next major ever again. All right, move on. Let's move on to the actual the tournament.
Okay. Go ahead, Phi.
Shall we start off? I'm always leading these segments off.
No, we said we'll start off each team, so let's.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, team by team, Heroic bombing out in last place. How about that one?
See who they lost to here.
They lost to Mouse.
NIP first.
Mouse built diff.
Yeah, they got the Mouse understand how to run a team. Plus Koi, minus Koi, be tier 1. Easy.
It's the play. It's the play, dude. Just get me out of the team and you'll make playoffs every event.
So against NIP though, they lost 16-13, 16-13. Campus post-game interview said that it's easy to read Heroic because of their playstyle. Like they do these crazy like mid-round pushes and like these crazy like random like 4-1 stacks. So he was able to read Heroic, he said. So
yeah, to me, like I don't know if this is a hot take, but I don't like how Cadian calls the CT sides just because it is super risky, and especially on Inferno, he loves doing 4-1 stacks, and sometimes it just looks foolish because it doesn't feel like he has too much of a read on the situation. He's kind of like, okay, well, we're in a very dicey situation utility wise, so we're just going to like full send and just have 4 players on the A side and just hope that it works out, you know. But it's not even like they keep Cadian on half wall. It's like just a rifler. So I understand where Hampus is coming from. They also look like just generally the better team that they deserve 100% to win that. They anti-shotted the hell out of Heroic in that game.
Is there any take on any for the Heroic that new man Jabby? Do they still have a little like tweaking to do before they actually get good?
Yeah, for sure. He actually played decent this tournament. I know in the play-ins he played really good. I'm not too sure about this group stage. I think he played okay, right?
Yeah, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
Considering the results, it's fine. I just want to make the statement though. How are you getting outread by Dexter?
Okay, easy there.
Okay.
No slander. No slander on Daddy Dexter.
I'm not firing shots, but I mean, for a guy who's been like criticized to be, well, first of all, the bench Dexter headline was the funniest thing I read all week. But the biggest thing is like for someone who's received so much criticism and generally said is inexperienced at tier 1, he's is that an accomplishment, or is that Dexter's accomplishment, or is that Mouse's accomplishment?
I'm gonna go with Dexter's accomplishment. Because one of the most when I was around, Dexter was sort of reliant on the more experienced members of the team. You know, like we had Robson Acor, and so they had more experience than Dexter. And so as a result, they were kind of they picked up a lot of like the actual slack. So he wasn't necessarily like a team leader. He was just like the in-game caller, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
With this current generation, I think he's finally finding that like actual team dad kind of like approach now. And it's taken a little while to get there, but I hung with him the entire time at Dallas. And you could see that was actually starting to take shape even there. And I think that this is just a continuation of that kind of like role change now.
And to go on with Koi, if you move off the match page against Heroic, look who they beat. They beat Heroic, Vitality, Nip. Like
to me, it was like the bracket that they had. It was like, okay, well, you can argue that Heroic just brought a new player. It was a bit topsy-turvy, like that maybe caught them by surprise, and then they beat Vitality, who again is another shaky team.
Yep.
They can beat anybody and lose to anybody. But the game that I was like, oh my god, this was a legitimate run, was their win over NIP, because I think that they looked very after they beat G2. I was like, okay, this is going to be the team that just makes it through the lower bracket final. But they like really just grinded the games out, and then on Mirage, I think they won like 16 straight rounds in a row, and like they just never looked back. It was really impressive to see. And I think that this quarterfinal they have against Astralis, that's a completely winnable game, I'd say.
Yeah, like the pressure's off for them, like because they've been, they've received so much hate and stuff and criticism due to their past performances that like they don't care. They really don't care. If they lose, they lose. Who cares, right? I think that that's really healthy for them, especially when they have the young players, because like JDC is playing really well. Torzy is playing lights out.
Yeah.
And those are like players that, they might have struggling mentals when they're going through all those losses, but now, dude, they don't care. They just want to shoot people.
I think like JDC is a pretty big like positive in that team, because like I watch a lot of like the Mouse Sports vlogs, and it's JDC is the type of guy that hypes the team up all the time. He always like cracks jokes and things like that, and maybe they didn't have that before in like their previous rosters, or Dexter's never played with someone like that. So I guess him becoming the dad, and then you also have someone in the teams like cracking all these jokes, and you also have Frozen that's like, even though he's young, like he's been under like Carrigan, and he's been playing with other like really experienced players that have like helped him grow, and he's probably also given like Dexter like things that like he wants to do, because if you watch their games, he's kind of like the star player in terms of like what it looks like is Dexter's just telling like Frozen, go do whatever you want, and then I'll tell the rest of us what to do. Because Nuke, for example, he's the guy that's kind of being that electronic, kind of doing his thing outside, pushing into like big garage, catching all these timings. And yeah, I think Dexter has all the tools, and he's just like improving the entire time. I don't see a way in which he's not going to improve.
Yeah, I want to give.
When they made these moves, it was like it was Frozen's time to be the star player, and he kind of had a huge dip. Like they had that Flashpoint 3 run, and that was really impressive. But again, the firepower was all like everybody was playing. Like I think they had all crazy ratings at that tournament. But beyond that tournament, like Frozen's individual form wasn't nearly as impressive as it used to be. And under Kerrigan, it was like this guy was insane. Like we were like, oh, okay, maybe next year he'll be a top 20 player for sure. Like he'll be in that conversation. But we haven't had that in a long time. In this tournament, he's been crazy. Obviously, just in general, the core has been working really, really hard, and they all look very comfortable themselves. But Frozen in particular, I was hoping that we would see a resurgence from him for a long time, because he's had a lot of potential, and we've seen that potential show up in a lot of situations. But now I think under this new core, he's finally realized, okay, I have all of this space. Let me actually do something with it and put on a good show,
Yeah, to touch base with what you're saying, Paladin, is like when Rops left, Mouse definitely had to sign Frozen, and they did, and they kept them because they're building the team around him. He is the star player, and besides Frozen, JDC, he finally stepped up to where he looked when he first stood in. Was it at Pro League?
It was Katowice.
Katowice, yeah, for NBK. So that's when he played lights out, and he's having that type of tournament right now. And then Torzy's showing up too, so Mouse is looking really good right now.
Yeah, and Bemis is kind of also like just build like team role a lot better than he did in the past. It's nice.
He looks like so much more comfortable in the role, right? Because he was like hard entry before, and now he's like lurking. I thought he looked really good. Like it didn't even take him very long, but he looks like he really knows what he's doing. He's done the like hard demo work to like really understand how to play that type of a game. It's not easy to just convert such a polar opposite role to role like that.
I hope Mouse can continue this type of performance even if they lose against Astralis. Like I don't want to see them fall back to where they were before. I want them to bounce and move forward from this tournament.
They can beat Astralis because they have that like attitude. They beat look what they beat. I think they can do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll preview that in a bit here. Let's continue with like the lower who got knocked out besides Heroic right away. ENCE.
These guys need a break, man. Like of all of the teams here, I think they need the biggest break, dude. Like they looked so exhausted in all of these games, and like Snappy was getting like so mad during these games. Like you can see like how much fatigue these people have. Like, And I don't blame them. You look at all the tournaments they played. It's not like they're just getting bombed out of all these tournaments. They're going deep. So like they're playing at these locations for so long. They hop on a plane, they go to the next place, and like they're going deep there as well. And so it's like, when is it going to end for them? When are they just going to be able to like scrim for like 2 seconds? Like I don't even think they have room to do that. And like I think of all the teams that got knocked out, they also had just a really awful bracket, like having to play Vitality and then G2. Like,
yep.
I don't write this event as like a bad one for them at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, very unlucky matchups against Vitality and G2. So, anybody have any last words about Ents?
I think that sums it up. They just
playing too much, need a break.
Need a break.
Other teams that got eliminated.
Yeah.
I mean,
G2
well, teams that didn't get eliminated. Team Liquid.
No,
we'll
Liquid.
Let's go. Outsiders and 0-0 Nation are next.
Yeah.
They just need more time to play, I think.
Yep.
Ooh, Outsiders and 0 both teams. Yeah, both teams. Yeah.
Both just need more time to play. How about the big ones? G2 and Vitality.
Yeah, G2 Vitality are the next ones out. Man, we could talk about all day about this. let's go with Vitality first, boys.
I'm out on Vitality. I think I'm done with it. Like you got me in for a little bit. Like they kind of like put out the fishing rod, and I was like, I took the bait after spring.
Which
finals,
event was that? Blast.
Yeah, Blast Spring Finals, and then I was getting reeled in, and then they kind of just lost me. Like I had to let go. Like I'm just done. The thing is to me, the whole project is like you're blending in two polar opposite like philosophies of Counterstrike. You're taking French Counterstrike, which is objectively like very brawly CS, very like we're gonna force buy when we feel like it, and we're gonna really take it to them. And that's something that they've done very well. But now you bring in Zonic, who has another vision of the game, which is a much more structure heavy, tactical aspect of the game. And you can very much in game and out of the game, like not out of the game, I'd say they're on pretty good terms, but like in the game, like you can just see like clashes on how these players want to play, and I don't think it's gonna work. So either like I don't even know like how drastic of a change you want to make, because they've put in a lot of money into this project in and of itself. So I don't even know where they could go. I don't know about you guys.
I think like Vitality, they do these like documentaries and they go really in depth, and Sonic was saying this is like the best team that he's ever coached in terms of synergy. Like everyone is very, very like happy with each other. Like if you just watch the documentaries, they are always laughing. And Apex is an insane leader. Like he does all these amazing like talks before and after. So it's weird for me why this team isn't performing. I think it does come down to like the difference in play styles, because one of the things that were like said in an interview or something is that like Apex is a very reactive caller. He likes to, as soon as he sees something, he calls instantly, and this is what we're doing. And maybe like, as you said, like Magisk and Dupree, the guys that are like playing are just, they don't really know how to react that fast. You know, maybe they want some like set reactions and things like that. But in terms of like the communication and everything like that, like I don't know, it's like the best. Like they're all laughing and they're always having fun. It's crazy how the results aren't better. So it has to be like something in game, but like outside the game, it's spectacular. Like the things that you see.
They've been putting in the work for in terms of synergy, right? Like when they first brought together the team, they like went on a hike into the mountains or something together, and they were like sleeping in like tents together and like making fondue in like the middle of the cold. Like they've been like they've been really trying to manufacture like relationships between each other, and you can definitely see they get along. I definitely agree with that. But it's just odd that like you put in that much time into supposedly the most difficult aspect of it all, and in game it's just not converting. And for me, it's just like I don't blame any of the players in particular. I don't blame any of like the coaching staff. It's just like this just didn't work. Like let's just go our separate ways. Maybe Vitality goes back all French, and you know Zonic, Magisk, and Dupree can go find another Danish core. They can very easily handpick any of the talent that is in the Denmark scene. Like they'll find something easily, and I think they'd both be better well off. But that's just me.
Yeah, Zonic like said that they don't really. They obviously care about the results, but in terms of like actually building their team, they know it's a long-term thing.
Yeah,
so
and if they're willing to put if they're willing to put in that work, then so be it. You know.
Yeah, we obviously don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but like Sonic was saying that it's a long-term project. Even though things aren't going good right now, it's by long-term he means like the team needs to be together for like a year.
Okay.
So in terms of like them actually seeing results, it might not be now because they could be taking it very slow, like map by map, or maybe they're just focusing on things, and it's not as if they're getting like super bad results. Like some events really good, and then some events like it's not the worst, but you should be able to be beating these teams 2-0 whoever they're playing, and yeah, it's just weird.
I think this player break will be a really good indicator for how they do going forward. Like how they return from the player. That might.
So
those fall groups are going to be super important, like just to gauge. And it's like a really good like settling in tournament, I'd say, for like all of those big teams. They'll all have an opportunity as well, so it'll be interesting because I think a lot of these teams need a break. But yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Paladin, you want them to make a change. MisteM, you don't think so from the vlogs, right?
Yep.
Who else? Phi, Koi, and Saga, you think Vitality should make a change?
I feel like they always get unlucky. A lot of their turning. I mean, this is a tournament where they've just been upset. It felt like they've been upset over and over again. I mean, they've gotten bodied by Riders twice, so, and then they got owned by Mouse. I don't know what to say about this. I think I'm gonna have to wait until after the player break before I make up my mind about this team. They're still top 5.
I think a little more time. Give them a little more time.
I think the kind of team that, because they don't have like young, really, like they don't have the young talents to like kind of rely on that like star power, that they do need as much possible to actually like develop their system into something that works. So I'm gonna go with more for sure.
How about G2 now?
G2 is
What
a
do you
mess
do?
right now.
I don't even know what you do, right? Like, on paper, like the sum of these parts should be so much better than what they're outputting right now. It's like, what is going on? Like, I don't even know where to start.
G2.
Oh, I know where to start. Nico,
yeah, where?
Sorry.
Nico, what?
No.
Nico IGL.
There you go.
Everything.
I have mixed feelings about G2. Like it's hard. Like I don't know. You have like Alexi B, which is not a dumb IGL. Like this guy is smart, but I don't know. It's the same for Vitality for me. I don't know how they're not getting results. Like
yeah, they have all the pieces.
Everything just like looks.
Yeah.
Maybe they just need more time. Honestly, like I think a lot of these teams. I would say Counterstrike today is very like individual based. Like if you have like 2 to 3 individuals that are performing at a consistent level, you can like get to like really far into an event. Like if you look at any other like even these movie star riders and Mouse, like even though they're in like the quarterfinals, like the players individually have been playing lights out, and every other team that they've played, no one has really performed or like showed like really good stats. Everyone, like some Pius tournament, like Mouse, you have like Frozen and BMS. Everyone has like been putting individual numbers, and maybe like G2, Nico's been like lackluster. Hunter, there's no one that's really like performing at a great level, and then Vitality as well. Like Zawu's not really at like his top performance like he was like a year ago. So I would say the individuals need to step up. Maybe it's not like a team problem. It could just be like individuals based off of like burnout, because there has to be like pressure or something along those teams.
On paper, this team should just be like bonkers, you know, like Nico, Modesty, and Hunter as just a trio of fraggers, and then you have like a fantastic space maker and Jax. I whether or not he gets good stats, the thing is he makes a lot of space for some of these players, and I think that he's a big like beacon of like support as far as out of the server goes. That you need a player like that. And then you also have like a tenured IGL. So like on paper, this should never have been a problem. And after Katowice, they should have just continued that form. But Alexi B doesn't feel. I don't feel like he's got a finger on the pulse of how to play his T sides yet. I think Xtaz and him really need to just iron out a lot of set strategies, because they haven't been able to do that. This mid rounding hasn't looked as comfortable as he used to, because that used to be one of his best parts of like playing reactively. Like he was very good at that on Ensign and OG, but he doesn't look like that at all now on G2. It looks like you'd think that with the individuals as a huge upgrade on G2 it would be so much easier to call and like be like,
Mhm.
Nico, go do something, Hunter, go do your own thing, and maybe we can like reconvene. But it doesn't look cohesive in the
Yeah.
slightest sense. It just looks very discombobulated, and I don't know why that is. Like, is it a
The
different? In my eyes, I think maybe it might be like a philosophy difference between
uh-huh.
Alexi B and Xtaz, but that's all speculation, I'd say.
Like you said, Paladin, Alexi B, like OG and NC's micromanaging. Like when you hear the voice comms of like the blast, segments, he would be micromanaging his players. And when he joined G2 with all these experienced players in interviews, he's saying he doesn't have to micro as much. So
Yeah.
he's trying to transition into this IGL style where he's not microing. So we'll have to see if he can figure it out.
I think like one topic is like Movistar Riders and Mouse, like they're in these quarterfinals, but they haven't really played as many events as all these other teams. So they like fresh, and they probably a level ahead from all the other teams because they've been able to practice. So that could also be like
And the
not
confidence.
probably it's not even G2 or Vitality's fault. Like I think we'll be able to see what these teams are capable of after the player break, because everyone should be fresh at that point. I think this tournament, like alone, maybe Star Riders and Mouse are just fresh and they're able to get a step ahead.
I mean, it helps that they won Valencia, right? Like they also have crazy good momentum right now. Like all these quarterfinal teams, it's like they've got some real motivation behind them. Like you look at Liquid as well, bringing in Yekindar, it's like they must be so excited to play with like a potential top 5 player. Like they want to use all this experience and gain all this knowledge and really try to push the issue. Movistar Riders obviously winning Valencia, Astralis and Maus, like those two are teams that haven't necessarily had the best of results. So they've obviously tried to grind out a lot of practice in the behind the scenes as well, getting knocked out of these tournaments earlier. So like all of those quarterfinal teams, it's like, yeah, well, the thing is, if you're in the top 10, you got to be always trying to reinvent yourself. And if you don't have time to reinvent yourself, then with how Counterstrike is today, people will catch up very, very quickly. And we see that just with how the bracket looks these days.
All right, before we hit on the Liquid, as we all want to talk about Liquid, let's hit on the CIS teams really fast on Cloud9 and Team Spirit.
Real quick here, before we go on, does anybody think G2 should make any changes?
No.
Nope.
No.
There's none you can make.
Not really.
Okay. Just I asked that because when G2 lost to NIP post-game interview with Alexi B, he's like, I don't know what's gonna happen next. So
knowing Carlos, like he's always very willing to spend money, and I'm thinking that he's at least toying with the idea to buy Yekindar, but I don't even know if he'll commit to that. I don't even think that is the move. Like I really don't.
Every team's first decision when making a roster move is to cut the coach.
I really hope they don't do that.
I genuinely hope they don't do that, because I just think this. I mean, unlucky, I guess. GG. Yeah. Right. Of course.
All right, let's talk about the CIS teams
on
Cloud9 and Spirit.
Let's do Cloud9 first.
Man, talk about a rough performance for Nafany.
Yeah.
What was that against Astralis? Was it on Mirage?
Yeah, I think he had like a 0.18 rating on a map or something like that, like a career low.
Oh my gosh!
Like it was like 1 in 23.
Yeah, dude. Oh, so brutal. And it sucks because he's the type of player that is somewhat of an X factor when it comes to like how he plays the game. Like he's the guy who phases through smokes. He's the guy who like on Vertigo, he's the guy that's just like running up yellow, And if that guy isn't rolling, who's also like a significant part of the energy of that team, if he is down and out, like it's a real problem. And again, I hate to bring it up again and again, but I seriously think this team is also a team that is fatigued. And just with how this bracket shaped out, with all these top teams that have fallen, it's like, look, I can't even say like, okay, this is the time where we need to like, cut Nafany and bring in another. Like, I think we should just wait and see. Like, let's see what happens after Rio. Like, let's just keep all the rosters, like keep them put, and then let's see what happens after Rio, or at least after the RMR or something like that. Because I don't want too drastic of a change to happen with Cloud9, especially joining a new organization like this and trying to change things up immediately. That I don't think that would be the best.
I don't think they're not even.
Hey, Boomich is out there.
Yeah, I mean this isn't like the normal Cloud9 that we've seen.
Yeah.
So it's like one bomb out of an event. I don't really think you can base anything off of this.
No.
Especially because it's
Dallas. They won Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been playing so well. It's like we just talked about it a little bit earlier about like how tier 1 teams are constantly just needing to reinvent themselves. So like I think that it was literally just the unfortunate situation of it's the last event of the cycle. It kind of just makes sense that they're not going to have the energy necessarily to just power through or
I mean,
invent new shit.
They're the team that like does the most prep work like before, like, or at least that's what's talked about, and they love to do anti-stratting and they love to try to like really get in the heads of teams. That's why they were so good online, right? They had all this time to just anti-strat, and they had none of that time. So I completely agree with you, Coy, that not being able to reinvent at all is just such a big issue for them specifically, I'd say.
Yeah, so I don't think that we should like. There's no like concerns there. Like you're gonna have situations like this in the grand.
And then you have Spirit with the new boy, Wonderful. Like it's just like the same like 0-0 Nation. Give him time.
Yeah, he played okay.
Yeah,
he didn't play bad. He didn't play like super good.
I'm so happy to see Patsy still performing because I thought that might have been a flash of the pan in Antwerp, but dude, this guy's got balls and he's also got a hell of an aim. Like he is performing very well, very fearless. His entry percentage is just nuts. Like I'm massively impressed with what he's been doing on the Spirit team. With how aggressive he is, right? Like you can have Wonderful be a very passive opera and it's totally fine. Like it'll still work out in the long run. And I think what they've done for their scouting, in terms of their scouting, they've done their homework. And instead of bringing in like a player like Deco or like, you know, any other tier 2 talent, like they've picked a player that's a little bit more passive and is willing to hold lines and allow for spacing for like a Chopper or a Patsy to just work their magic, you know?
Yeah, to touch base with Patsy, I remember when Spirit was experimenting with the 6-man roster, and they brought him in for the first time in like a DreamHack game. I can't remember.
He looks so bad.
He looked so bad, and then that was it. We never seen him again. I was like, oh, that's it. And then they brought him back for the main roster, and Lord and behold, he's an actual star. So
I think they brought him in as the IGL.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, and it was like really abysmal. Like he couldn't call it like Mirage of all maps, and it was not a good like state of affairs. But I'm so glad they like stuck him around. Like they didn't just like, you know, cast him aside and just say, you know, you're stuck to Academy from now on. But it's worked out. Good for him.
I'm so happy that all of these teams that actually like have invested in the Academy ecosystem actually getting so much value out of it. Because like, gone are the days where you can just like scout random players and perfect. Now you actually kind of have to like build them into your system prior to them actually joining your team in order for the results to be there.
Like shout out to We Play Academy. Like that whole league is growing every year, and obviously like some teams that are coming in, they're not that great, but it's just like the fact that teams are willing to see Mouse NXT's success and see Team Spirit Academy success as well. Like it's going to create some kind of waves to at least dip your toe into that aspect of the game. Like I hope
it's like it's like college and then going pro, right? You get all those prospects. Like we've seen so many prospects come through to tier 1 now from We Play, so it's amazing.
And I think Spirit's just gonna keep on doing good. I like that team.
Yeah, I hope they like replicate their form like they did previously, but I'm worried that they're gonna try to replicate what they did when they first broke onto the scene way back when. I think it was Katowice or something like that. But they had like a crazy deep run, and they had like a huge drop off in form, and then they had that huge capitulation in November. But
yeah, you're right.
Can, like replicate that form. I really hope that they can stick around because I sorely miss Spirit just in the upper echelons of Counterstrike. As soon as they stopped getting invites, like they really fell out of relevancy. So good that they're still relevant.
Before we move on for a little bit, anything else on these two CIS teams?
No.
I think that's it.
Not really.
All right, I think we'll hit on the big two favorites at the moment because I think no one's like shocked at all. FaZe and Na'Vi. I think we all kind of believe they're gonna make it in.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about FaZe and Na'Vi. Right, we all knew they're gonna go through.
I was talking about this earlier, but the bracket for phases run to the finals, all things considered, is kind of weak. Like they beat 0 Nation, and yeah, they beat Spirit as well, but then they beat Astralis, and then they'd have to potentially beat the winners of Movistar and Liquid, who obviously on paper, like they still should be showing up a fight, but
Yeah.
like you wouldn't have to beat any big teams to get there, except probably Navi in that BO5. Like it is a pretty odd situation, I think, for
You can
FaZe,
say the
but,
same
you know,
thing with Navi though, right?
yeah, you just gotta play the who's ahead of you.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And then it
The
is what it is.
bracket's kind of weak for both sides.
But I'm hoping that we get that final of FaZe Navi. That's just what I'm banking
Oh, best
on.
of 5 too. Oh
It'd
man,
be so marvelous. Rematch of Antwerp, that would be fantastic.
Team Liquid versus Astralis, easy clap.
I want Team Liquid versus Navi, and then that's what I want.
And then Team Liquid get 0-3. So
should we go back to NIP Inferior before we talk about who's alive?
Let's.
I think NIP are just like the most mediocre team to ever hit Counterstrike the global offensive scene. They have never make playoffs of any of the events they attend, but they always come
playoffs.
so painful.
Well, if they make playoffs,
They always make playoffs.
Or they bomb out of playoffs.
Yeah, they bomb out of playoffs, but they always make it.
There's never any hope that this team is going to make a grand final.
But there's always
Look,
conditions with them though.
I'll push back. Okay, I think that what DGL and Hampus have done, I will say that their T side looked abysmal at the beginning of the year. Oh my god, atrocious. But now they actually look like these people, these players actually know what they're doing on T side. There's an actual game plan. And even with the conditions and the caveats that they have tournament after tournament, where it's like whether a device is going to be there or not, or whether they have to play with ZTR or whatnot, they still look somewhat competitive. They're still taking upsets here and there. I will say, yeah, I wouldn't bank on them making a grand final, but hey, if they get a device back onto their team, I think that this team can be easily top 5. I think that they can easily start to consistently bring out good results. I think they have the capability to do so.
Yeah, I want to touch back on MisteM's point about teams being so individually based, and I think the one glaring issue with NIP is that I don't think there's any huge individuals. I think barring Hampus and maybe a good Brawl and pop off, that this team can really dominate opposition and pull off upsets.
Don't
forget my take.
Don't forget about Rez too. Rez,
Rez. But I mean, I don't think Rez has been the consistent force that I think we saw out of him, maybe late 2021 or earlier on this year. I think it's more reliant on Hampus finding really good timings to make things happen. And I guess the addition of Brolin, but I just don't see this team stacking up necessarily to, say, the Movistar Riders, who have literally just 5 fraggers just owning everyone. So that's just my take. I'll leave it open-ended like that, but
I accept that.
I suppose on a Furia.
And NIP bores me. That's my statement.
Yep, there you go. That encapsulates it pretty well.
Why they bore you? How they play?
I don't want to explain it.
Okay,
It's a
all
boring
right.
statement.
It will bore us. That's why.
No, the whole idea behind NIP is that they're designed to be this super team of sorts from their respective, right? And so, because they're hamstrung by the device, from a management perspective, just cut the guy. Literally just get rid of him. At this point, you need actual results. You need something to actually appease the investors and whoever's actually part of the program, so that you can actually start moving towards something else. Because how many months now have they been in this awkward situation where they just haven't been able to do anything because of their roster problem? Just do it. Man up and do the freaking thing and actually start winning games, because they have all of these really talented players on paper, right? Brolin, Hampus, Rez, Esatag, Plofsky, all of those players, if they actually have the system that they need, will farm, right? They're pound for pound, they're a heroic, if not better, which is a really hot take. But they just need to get over this current issue with the device thing, and I think that the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, it's the whole Esatag opping thing. I think that is one thing I would definitely agree with you guys on. It is not gonna work. It's not gonna work, and I hate that they're all this is the 5-man lineup that we want to go with. It's none of y'all believe that. It is just he's never been an opper, and I don't think that we should be trying to make him be an opper. And that's not even a dig at him. Like, I think he's a fantastic player, but I think he should be sticking with the rifle 100 times out of 10. But if you don't have device or you don't have a clear understanding of what the situation is, then like, what do you do?
I think fair enough with Dip right there. They just need device or just to clear that issue. How about Furia?
Or for him to leave, but yeah.
How about Furia?
Let me start with Furia. So they've been very shaky till this tournament, right? Losing a lot, and I think they started off with a loss against Astralis, and then they bounced back against Outsiders and Spirit. So the reason why they bounced back is they had individuals step up, as in Yuri and Keserato, but otherwise, I don't know. I don't know what's. I mean, it's. I don't know if this is a good placement for them.
Mm-hmm. I think for a team, they've been criticized on their struggles potentially as a unit. But was this event really a struggle? Was this a sign of life for Furia?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out too.
I'm thinking this is a little bit of a better trend than what we've seen from Furia as of late.
Oh my god! After watching Valencia, I was like, I had very low expectations for them here. That they came out in last place, but and after being potentially favorites to win the whole thing, it looked like the most stable roster out of the whole thing, which capitulated. But here, I mean, winning over Spirit, I think it has to be taken as a good win, but absolutely getting rolled by Liquid. Look, Liquid.
I wouldn't call that being rolled.
Oh, that's not rolled.
It was far from a roll. It was
no, my god.
I think Liquid shot themselves in their own foot a couple of times, but I don't know. I hope that we get a little bit more from Furia, but they definitely look better than what they did at Valencia, and that at least is a plus for me.
So a good sign then for them.
More so, yeah.
Of course, it's going to be the player break. So I mean, every time we go after the player break, it's always a dice roll. But I think generally said it's on a better note to end the year for Furia or end the semester.
Now let's go to everyone's favorite topic, Liquid.
Ykinder.
Woo! Woo! Let's go!
Throw them everything you have, Liquid.
My soul has been wandering restless, and it has returned back to its host in Garrett Phi Cast Shear. I'm feeling great.
You know what? Their first match was against Spirit, and they should have won that Ancient. You guys watch the Ancient, the last map?
I did. Yeah. Oh my!
That was brutal.
Yeah, that was. Don't remind me. No. Liquid went through to the playoffs absolutely clean. They didn't drop a map.
Yeah. Are you talking about afterwards?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about a hypothetical situation.
Oh,
that
okay.
Never ever happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the talking point is Ykinder. I watched Dust 2, and on their CT side, they're letting him do whatever he wants. Like he's picking up the second op. He was like playing multiple positions, so they've given him a lot of freedom. Overpass, I know on CT side he was playing A, which he usually does with Outsiders. I can't remember where he was on T side, and then on Ancient, he was lurking on T side. I can't remember what he was doing on CT side, but my first impressions of Ykinder and Liquid, they look really good.
They're giving him a lot of space to do what he wants, and I like that they're doing that. Like, and from what I've been hearing as well, they've been learning a lot from him and trying to mold the styles of both North American Counterstrike as well as like some of that Outsiders DNA.
Yeah.
And while it's not always consistently hitting, like there's some situations where there's like 18 seconds left on the clock and they can't make that snap decision just because that's not something they've been regularly doing. But when it does work, it looks really, really good. And there are definitely some like mental blocks that happened along the way, but the fact of the matter is they made it to the playoffs, and I think that in and of itself is a step above from what we've seen in Liquid in a long time. And I'm just so glad we have like finally like a genuine North American team in the playoffs.
We'll throw on the kitchen sink, give everything.
Yeah. I saw that interview too with Daps where he's saying Ykinder's bringing in a lot from Outsiders. And when Yikinder played in Outsiders, he gave a lot of praise to Jame, and he said he was one of the smartest players he's ever played with. And then in another HLTV article with Fame and Norbert, they also agreed, saying Jame is super smart. So it's good to see Yikinder bring in some of the Outsiders feedback and training and system into Team Liquid. And then they're mashing everything together.
Just super happy that what it's done is it's given another like actually aggressive space taker to Liquid's arsenal, because like Alige has been playing really well.
Oh yeah.
Because now he's finally has the space to operate at his comfort level, versus in the past where he kind of had to pick up the slack when it came to entering or taking space or something. And like there were times in the past where you could see him visibly struggling with like just taking fights because he'd get caught out or something. And Yikindar's kind of like starting to take that from him, and it'll give him a lot more freedom.
And the energy, like one thing that's been sorely lacking in the Liquid camp, but just like that fiery personality that really just rally up the troops. And you can see this guy's yelling up a storm in every one of their matches. Like it's good. It's good to see that. Like even in the intangible side of things, that he's slotting in really well.
He's
now,
like Stewie.
Yeah, it's like you need a Stewie. Like whether like we like it or not, we can't really beat around the bush. Like it is something that's very necessary for a team like that, where you don't have many huge voices.
That's
at
true.
least outside of the game in terms of energy. That having a Yekindar is like a boon. Like it also helps that he's a monster in terms of aim, but I think even beyond that, he's been a huge boon. I hope that he stays. That's just me. I hope he stays.
I agree with the intangibles. Like looking at Team Liquid, Elite, OC, NAF, Nitro, the personalities they're like all pretty quiet. So bringing in somebody like Yikinder definitely can boost up the morales.
Anything else on Team Liquid?
Quarterfinal is gonna be hot. Like that Movistar game is gonna be fun.
Yeah, we can go
playoffs right now really fast.
I hope Mopaz has his career worst game, even though I'm a fan.
The last time they played against each other was at Pro League, I think,
yeah.
right? And then Movistars, right? They won that one. So
that was their big 5-0 run, I think.
Yeah.
In the group stage, yeah.
And then they just bomb playoffs.
Yeah, they had like a round 2 berth, and they just bombed out.
Yeah.
So everyone, we guys got one. What's your finals matchup?
Team Liquid versus not Astralis.
Are we talking about what the semifinals?
Liquid versus Mouse. Screw this.
Oh, in the grand final?
Yeah.
Wait, no, I don't want that to be the grand final. That's gonna make it really tough for me. It's gonna make it really tough for me, and I'm probably gonna end up going Mouse on it, and that's messed up, and I don't like that reality.
I like Mouse competing at Cologne. They're the one German organization competing.
And they got a German player as well, JDC. Finally,
they got JDC. They finally have a German player playing in the playoffs of Cologne since like 2018.
So long ago. Did they have I believe Gob B at one point, like way back when?
Oh yeah, I mean, Mouse is a German org. They had a German team. They had a German team.
Yeah, just completely let go of all of them.
We can go dive deeper into these matchups. So Liquid permaban Nuke, and I can't remember what Movistar permaban. Anybody? Dust 2.
Yes, Dust 2.
What did Liquid pick today against
Ancient?
Ancient, didn't they? Yeah.
Okay.
They just been spam picking Ancient.
I think Vertigo will probably be the decider. Both teams like that map. They'll probably both want to leave it open.
I think Riders are favored to win this, in my opinion.
Yeah, they just have a deeper playbook, and they have a deeper map pool as well. And it looks like right now they're all in such a form that they were like going toe-to-toe with Na'Vi today, and they actually looked like they have the confidence to go against players like that. And if that's the case, like I take them to like at least compete in any of the maps that get picked into them. That when it comes down to it, maybe they just take the series. But I will give the edge to Liquid in the sense that those guys have always been on the playoff stages, like throughout their careers. And
you're talking about like the crowd and stuff.
Yeah, Lanxess will be a different setting. Like, think about it. Movistar has only played in front of a crowd in Valencia, but that was a home crowd.
That was like really small too.
Were there. It was all really in favor of Movistar Riders winning a lot of their games. but how is it going to be with the neutral crowd? How is it going to be with a massive crowd in general? Like, there's just a lot working against you in that sense that I would give the edge to Liquid. And yeah, I think it's a pretty even game, all things considered, I'd say.
Is everyone thinking Liquid going through?
What? My heart's going with Liquid.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Be cool to see Liquid phase.
Okay.
Liquid play
Okay.
against Twists. That'd be fun.
Oh, that is a possible storyline. Let's go to the
And
other
a guaranteed
quarterfinals.
North
Yeah,
American victory. Sorry.
Mouse
Yeah.
Astralis.
That's kind of like a fight of pride at this point, because both of those teams are kind of struggling to make playoffs, and it's like, hell, if they make semifinals, good for either of those teams. They'll be laughing all the way to the bank because they know the Navi game is going to be very difficult to win either way. So it's like,
Yeah,
let's just see how deep we can go. And
Mouse
push
should be
through.
happy how far they got into playoffs, and Astralis, they definitely
Astralis,
want. They
I think,
definitely
are
want
a
more.
little lucky. I
They
think
want- yeah.
Astralis have gotten a little bit lucky. They have been playing teams that are husks of themselves to get to this position. And you might look at the result for FaZe. They lost 0-2 and some competitive maps. But Astralis realistically never had an opportunity to get back in the game. Those two maps were basically hopeless once on Overpass, he was like 14-4 at one point, and then Astralis started, oh my gosh, the CT side Overpass comeback, is it gonna happen? And on this episode it doesn't. And then when it goes to Inferno, FaZe get the pistol and they just roll the game up, is basically how it goes. I think Astralis kind of might have just lucked their way into their position. And they got the matchup versus Mouse too.
Mhm. True.
I don't like us. I'm a professional Astralis hater. Okay. I think Mouse.
You're a Liquid fan. It's in your blood, right?
Yeah. I have to hate Astralis. I want to go with Mouse here just because I don't think Astralis have actually proven themselves while Mouse have gone on and they've looked competitive this entire group stage.
I think it just comes down to pressure of the event, like which team's gonna perform better on LAN. You know, like in a crowd setting. Like both teams have been looking like good this event. It just kind of depends on who performs on the day.
Has Mouse ever played on stage?
I don't think so.
I don't think in a big crowd.
Yeah.
Because Flashpoint was all studio based, or sorry, it was all online. It wasn't even studio based. So that's the last time I think we've seen him in a big studio event or just a deep run in general, right? And so
Yeah.
you have two essentially academy players, Torzy and JDC. Obviously, I think one thing that'll definitely help them is that I'm sure the crowd is going to be on their side. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. So that definitely probably takes a little bit of pressure off of them. But at the same time, you're going against Astralis, who have literally seen and done it all. I don't think they'll be phased whatsoever by anything that the crowd throws at them. But yeah, we'll see. I think that Mouse definitely have the chance to take them down. But I think I have to agree with Phi. Like, their run isn't necessarily the most squeaky clean thing on.
Yeah, no.
All right. Yeah. Do any of these quarterfinal teams have a shot of beating Navi in FaZe?
No.
No.
Right.
Oh yeah, dude, Mouse is
no.
Team Liquid 32-0 against Navi.
No,
you heard it.
no shot for any of these four. I'm sorry.
We're all going grand final Navi.
I think Riders have a chance. Okay, there is a minute chance.
Okay, if they're playing with momentum, yeah. If they made it to 2-0 Liquid, all of a sudden, you know,
they're gonna have to peak higher than they already have.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Which is pretty insane, but I think they have a minute chance.
If Mouse beats Astralis and Navi, I'll do like a hard liquor Stewie. I will go.
We got it on stream.
Can we do that next podcast if that happens? Just chug it.
I probably won't be functioning for a lot of that podcast, but sure.
We just need you to drink it.
Bet. All right, I'll make it work. I'll make it work.
Flip it, ship it, and
okay.
Get ready for
so
it.
Final preview then, yeah?
All right. Who you guys got?
Not as sincere.
Dude,
Born to win.
It would be such a fantastic final or an end to the season if we could just have a Navi FaZe final. Like, it would just be so awesome. I think that could potentially go 5 maps as well. Like,
Yeah.
it would be a good way to let us eat for the next couple of months and rewatch those demos over and over again.
I think
Like, that's what I'm doing.
Navi will win against FaZe. I think they're playing really good, and like the last time they met the major at the grand final, I don't think that was, a showing from Navi. That wasn't the real Navi that we saw.
MisteM, what do you think?
I think Navi win. I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
every other Navi that we've seen in the final, there's obviously everything that's going on with like Ukraine and stuff, and yeah, I think now things are just like looking really good, and everyone's performing like individually. I think that whole break that they had for that cup that didn't play, and FaZe being constantly playing, that's just gonna like give them the edge over FaZe.
All right. I think we just hit off Cologne pretty well right there. Went in detail on everything.
Yep.
All right, let's
Navi
move
major
on.
winners, or not major.
Major.
Cologne. Sorry, I didn't.
The
I shouldn't ruin the script.
The quote unquote third major.
Yeah.
We get it right. All right. Let's move on to some of the minor CS news that happened during the week. The big one was EG. There was a rumor of the benching Stewie and Rush and signing Nealon, Huxi, and maybe Valde.
I'm not sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I want you to go ahead now because I thought you were going to come up with a really good point, hot and heavy.
No, I'm just saying, why are we doing this Blue Point project or whatever, and we are not even bothering to attempt any sort of combination of these players and give them a chance? Why are we already resorting to like international prospects when we can't even figure out what our own like structure is? That's just how I'm thinking. Looking
I don't
at this.
think
Like,
they like what they see yet. Like, I don't think they're ready yet. Is what they're.
I think that's the concept.
Yeah.
I don't think
have a
they're ready
really
yet.
good response.
Go ahead.
So I'm in the exact, and I mean exact same situation, more or less, when it comes to the idea of bringing in European prospects to a North American program. The idea here isn't so much that the Americans aren't good enough, but it's rather that in addition to just coaching them, you really need players that come from different backgrounds to kind of affect the players within the system as well, right? So I'm actually surprised. So like, because we're already seeing what the benefits of Kindar and Liquid is, right?
Yeah.
And so bringing in at least one European program into the Blueprint project would be absolutely like monumental. Comes, let's say Hext has questions about how European Tier 2 operates. Now you have someone that can give that answer. It's not necessarily just the coaches that are based off of the demos they watch, right? It's like a completely different kind of like atmosphere when you're learning player than you are from the coach. So that's why I think they're like kind of seriously looking at this. The level of the players is, I mean, I think they're both competent, but I feel as though you could find more experienced players for those roles, right? But I think that's where they're at. Comes to like that sort of like concept.
When
I think there was a point that I brought up with Innershine last week, and that is like, analysts have to cater to their players. The players have to cater to themselves as well. Like the more perspectives you get on a situation, the better. I think that's you know what? +1 to Koi.
Yeah, like I intentionally am like trying to bring in now a Brazilian player as well, because that's a different. I'd like to bring in an Australian because that's a. The whole idea is that there's no one correct way to play Counterstrike. Whatever mixture that you can pull from, that actually becomes the best style.
Sure, yeah.
For Huxi, to go off base here, when we had NATO on the show about 2 shows ago, he spoke highly of Huxi and like how hardworking he is. So I'm happy that he's getting this opportunity. As for Nealon, I don't know too much about him. I know he played with K23. He actually didn't play today in their lineup. So does that possibly mean that something's in the works? I don't know. So
really,
yeah,
he had an open quali, right?
Yeah, he didn't play. So
I think Huxi will be a better fit for this team.
I think so.
Just
agree.
just a style that he calls, and
Hooksy
I mean, you can,
Valde.
yeah. I mean, that's like the best that you can get, as well as like, I guess the roles would all fit.
I think Valde is a great upgrade. I think that definitely could work. Like again, I think these moves like make sense. Like it's fine. Like it just to me, it's just like I hope that the Blue Point like tier 2 teams get an actual opportunity to like like compete at a higher level, and I just hope that they don't
I
get
think
locked up. You know.
I think they will. I think everyone's following into that like academy style program. That's how I view it. The 3 teams as. That's how I view it.
Why can't I think of their full roster now? Besides
What?
Cirque and
Cirque,
and
Breeze,
Breeze.
and
Automatic.
Automatic. Okay, I was gonna say who's Rush is the dedicated entry. He plays like all these selfish roles. Who's gonna take that on?
Valde is
Probably
very willing to
Hooksy.
do that. I think.
Valde, probably.
Yeah, Valde was the person that
Well,
they
I
were
know-
eyeing up before.
I know Stewie was
Yeah.
doing it too when he was he was playing these selfish roles
Right,
alongside.
I think Koi's right. It was supposed to be originally Valde
Rush.
instead of Rush, right? And then that deal fell
Yep.
through.
Oh, okay.
Well, because they actually wanted to prioritize Rush. They actually wanted Rush before Valde, and then Rush was open from Cole.
Right,
So they're like,
right.
why not? So
So Valde, who's known to always play like these star roles, is gonna take a step back then.
he's more been an anchor player.
Yeah, he's been a pretty selfless player through what he's.
I mean,
pulled
he's just been
previously.
a great performer. He's just been
Yeah.
solid.
Okay.
Like I don't think he's ever like Valde's never been in superstar positions, but he's just been consistent, and I think that's something
Yeah.
EG needs.
It's crazy that he's been on the bench for this long.
So many
surprised
people have been like spreading rumors. Oh, Charles should get him, but that was somebody said that's not happening. I can't remember where I read it. That Charles
Right.
aren't going for Valde.
I mean, it'd be great for it to be a replacement for Zipnix, but I don't think that's the thing that they want to do at this point.
I feel sad for Rush because we during his
I think
interviews he said he put in so much work with this
Rush
team.
and complexity. When we hit on it earlier, when we talked about complexity, he'd be perfect on that team.
I think it would work. Yeah.
Yeah,
So complexity will bring him back. You think?
I hope so.
I hope.
And Stewie,
We don't.
he's going
we
to
don't.
Valorant most likely.
Most
I think.
likely, yeah.
Did you guys see that tweet? Dude, Paladin got baited.
The baited
What a
tweet.
stupid tweet.
All right. Moving on from EG, the other little news in the French scene was the Falcons interested in picking up AmeNek and NBK.
Really
I
good
think
move.
they
They'll be a
need.
better team.
I
They'll
think
be
they
a
need.
better team.
Yeah, I think they need more experience just in general. Like when I watched them at conference, a
Mhm.
big part of it was just the youngsters kind of fell off, and Kyojin has had like moments of good play, but he's still not. I don't think he's just ready for this type of gameplay. And I think NBK automatically elevates any team that he plays on just because of the amount of experience he brings, and he just knows how to become a championship level team just with how his mentality is and how he carries himself. I love NBK, and I think that he should be on a team like Falcons. And then you bring in AmeNek as well. That guy is a very selfless player. You really
Yeah.
try to unlock players like Maka and Haji, and you make them feel a little bit more comfortable to take risks. And this team could probably contend again. Like I hope that they can show a little bit more confidence because I think they're just one series away and they lost to Heat in that last little game. And I think the reason why they did was it was just that huge psychological and
Mhm.
like mental edge that Heat had over Falcons of just like, look, we're just the more experienced team and we just bang you out of the server in that way.
Hats off to them though. They did bounce back and won the latest conference to go on to the next conference.
Yeah, it's all Challenger League.
Yeah, that one. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
I think everyone's doing the way of like young guys bringing some veterans. Like we've been talking about it the whole podcast episode. Like you need some experienced players to go with the young upcomers.
I'm happy for NBK though because he Mouse kind of did him kind of wrong there, so I'm happy he's found his footing back. So and he's a real good player. So rooting for NBK.
And then the other big news was in the Turkish scene, External Fire dropping Calyx and picking up Major.
So Major
Another
was with
experienced
Valorant.
player.
He's in
Yeah,
IG.
yeah.
He's in IGL
wasn't-
too.
Yeah, it was in Valorant. Came back.
Who
came
was
back home.
IGLing for Eternal Fire?
all of the players.
All they were?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like, I believe it was Xantares to start, and then it became
Uh-huh.
Woxic, and then it was Immor
Uh-huh.
as well.
I think it
Okay.
went back
And-
to Xantares as well.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
recently.
They just did play hot potato for quite some time, and it
Uh-huh.
never. You could definitely see that nobody was willing to do it because they'd all take a huge dip in like individual performance. That it'd be like, oh well, if this team can come back, like that'd be great. Or sorry, if this player would come back in form, like this team would be great. But that never happened, and I'm glad they just committed to this, like a dedicated IGL. Now, whether or not he's actually going to be good,
Mhm.
that's another question because having to take a huge break or a stint in Valorant and coming back, we've already seen like how much Nitro had to put in and how much time he had to put in to like get back into form and really understand how to play the game again at a tier 1 level, or at least in Eternal Fire case like a tier 1.5. Because look, tier 2, tier 1.5 of EU is like so competitive right now that like it's going to be really, really tough for Major to just really get the ball rolling immediately. So I hope that they have a system in place to at least like get him up to snuff from the get-go, because it's going to be a tough road.
I think with time, I think it'll work out. And Xantares a Major played in the past. He trusts him. I think it'll be fine.
IGL is all falls on Major now, so all these rest of the 4 players can go out and do their own thing. Don't have to worry about that. And then what we're gonna see from Major, most likely the IGL that he is most likely gonna be like Kerrigan and Snappy type. Being very selfish, going in first. Dropping weapons.
Right in the space.
Yeah, I think it'll free up a lot of the mental overhead that people like Xantares Toxic have to go through, like their old system. So like they should literally just get a straight up like just fragging buff from them, because both of those players are commonly associated with kind of just being like they're mostly just shooters, right? They don't do a whole lot of thinking. And so having someone that's like they're like there's something is gonna be really beneficial to.
Or you don't even need
playing to
too
their
much of a,
strength.
you don't need even a complicated IGL, right? Like just that like last 5-10% of fragging that they need is now unlocked, at least theoretically. And I think just that enough will allow them to take some scalps here and there at EPL since they did qualify. So I just see this as a net positive, regardless of like how Major's quality will be immediately off the bat. But whether or not they'll be like top 10 or like top 20, like that, I think that's gonna, jury's still out on that. I think they'll need a lot more time.
All right, guys. That's pretty much the weekly recap because Cologne was the big thing. Before we talk, we interview MisteM. I just have one question for Koi. You have your Davenport project. How is that working out? You've had the first week, and you're mentioning it. So, a little recap.
Yeah, so it's going pretty well. We've had a situation with the visa thing, so that we unfortunately won't be having a player join us, but that'll be a down the road thing. And so I'll announce that at a later. But moving forward, I mean, we have 2 more international players that we're looking, and then we have a whole host of incoming domestic students. And honestly, I'm really excited. I mean, we just made relegation, hoping to do well in that. I think it starts tomorrow. And we'll see how far we can go with the current roster. Like the fact that the current roster is doing this well really just speaks volumes to how well I think.
So you're bringing in multiple prospects. So are you having multiple teams?
Yeah. So we'll be
Okay.
doing a 15-man thing, 3 teams as well.
Interesting.
Although we're a little bit more long-term in kind of approach, because obviously they're here for 3, 4, 5 years. And so there'll be a lot of alternating players, but in the same vein, it'll be less results based.
Okay. I got one last question. I know you're part of the council for the Gucci Gaming for Face It.
Yeah.
We haven't heard much since the announcement. Any news?
Yeah. So we will have some stuff. Let me think how I want to phrase this. We should have some player signings in America. So we went through a weird phase where a lot of the focus was on Europe, just because Neil was part of the program prior to there. And so it was much like they were already way more advanced in the process for players and the process for players in the EU. And then at the same time, when I joined, I sort of had to, work with my higher ups at Faceit and at Gucci, basically just reframe the mission so that it made sense for NA. Because let's be real, the tier 2 ecosystem in Europe is vastly different than that in North America.
100%.
And so we kind of had to change the sort of the goals of the program a little bit in order to accommodate. Okay. For example, I'm not going to find a player in FPL and have him get picked up by Liquid.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's not possible. But we can still do a lot of just valuable players.
So when did you say that date was?
When we're signing people, when we're announcing people? For near future. I submitted something last Monday. I have to make a couple edits, but it should be very soon.
Thanks for the update, Koi. All right, Saga.
All right, man. First off, we got our main guest here today is MisteM. He's the IGL from ATK.
Hello again. It's me.
Now,
yeah.
Now it's time for you.
Whoa, no way.
MisteM out here.
MisteM out here now. It's MisteM out here time. So we got some questions lined up for you.
Hit me.
All right. How was hailing from the South African scene, and how did you get how was the South African scene to start off?
South African scene pretty small. I would say it's pretty similar to the Australian scene. Everyone knows each other. Don't really get many opportunities. I would say, especially during COVID, didn't really get anything to make teams enhance. You just kind of play the same teams over and over all the time. So you don't really improve. You just kind of play it as a hobby. I don't really think you can make a living from South Africa. I think there's only 2-3 teams that you're getting a salary, and it's not anything crazy. It's just pocket money, I would say. So yeah, I would say the South African scene in terms of tournaments, there's a lot of tournaments for the South African players that they can play, but there's nothing that's really going to get them overseas. I think the only one that's happening this year is the Rotterdam qualifier.
And how did you specifically get picked up from ATK?
I was pretty well known in South Africa, and the owner of ATK, he messaged me on WhatsApp, and he just said look, I'm wanting to do this project, and JT and TC and Sonic all recommended you. Your name got brought up quite a lot, so I was pretty happy that they were speaking about me. And he just said you can kind of build the team whatever you want. So he kind of just said he's doing this project, and he wants to kind of send another team overseas, and he just kind of gave me the crown to pick whoever I want and then go from there.
All right, because we had Spray last week, and so far you guys lost to Pain in that in the what was it, the
Challenger.
Yeah, but you guys showed a hell of a performance, but losing to Pain. I think and the way how NA's hitting it up, pretty sure your team could probably hit the major. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, I would say that we can do it. I mean, picking up Swisher was a really big, important aspect for us. He's one of the hardest workers that I know. Yeah, I mean, in terms of us playing, it's really hard for us to advance as a team, because right now in North America, the teams that we're scrimming or that we want to scrim, we're beating them 25-5, or we're not really seeing any big mistakes in our gameplay. And then when we do play teams like Pain or Godsend, we kind of just it's a lot closer games, and they have the edge over us because they're able to go to Europe for a week or something, and they, a week in Europe is insane. It's nothing anything big, but you can scrim against these teams, and you can get these mistakes that you want to do. It's not anything bad that we're not doing. It's just that we can't enhance our performance at all. We're playing these teams and we're just not seeing anything that I can fix or that we can talk about. So yeah, I mean, the loss versus Pain, I would say that we could have taken a map off them, and I've said in the past, if we didn't win that, anything but a win is just not acceptable. We have the potential to be able to beat teams like that. It's just we're not really at that level just yet.
Are you guys boot camping in Europe at all?
There's something in the pipeline for that, like after player break. I don't really like know the details too much, but that is something that like we want to do, and I definitely think that'll be a benefit for us for sure.
And you mentioned the NA scene. So, what differences can you say between the South Africa scene and the NA scene when it comes to gameplay?
It's obviously very different. When we first came here, you could feel the difference in seriousness. Like people are wanting to improve and play, and I would say like in South Africa, you're playing like the same teams. Whereas like when we first came here to North America, a lot of like the teams like we were playing were a lot better than us. Like Party Astronauts, we will never be able to beat them. Choco Check, now Gaming Gladiators, were never able to beat them. All of these teams were never able to beat, but there was always like someone that was better than us, so we worked 10 times better because we wanted to beat them. In South Africa, we were like the best for like a year. We never lost a series once. We would lose like a map, and that's at most like that we would lose. So in terms of like the North American scene, there's just a difference in mentality of people wanting to improve, people are wanting to put in the work, and you can feel that everything is just better.
Are the stereotypes of NA pretty much true? All aim, no brain.
I'd say some teams. There are some teams that like kind of troll or don't really like play to practice or anything like that. But there are some teams that, even the lower tier teams, like we scrim some teams, and even though we beat them, whatever it may be in the scrim, they still message me or someone in the team and just say like, okay, like what could we have done better? And for me, that's what I really like. There are some lower tier teams that just say like, what could we have done better? And I give them, these are like some things that you want to do. These are some things that you need to focus on. And they go and do that. And then next time we play them, it's a lot better. You can feel that they, in the scrims, they're playing to practice. They're not playing to win or prove that they can beat us. So that was like really nice. But a lot of the top teams, I would say, other than like the complexities and stuff, some of them like will troll to play, or like you don't really feel you're getting much out of the scrim. You're just kind of playing to play.
It's surprising that you say that NA is all about the hard work compared to like hard work, but people generalize that NA doesn't work hard compared to EU. Would you take that?
I think I would say EU works harder than NA, but that's just because they have the resources to do that. Like in EU, you can get a scrim whenever you want. Doesn't matter what time. People are looking for scrims. They're waking up earlier, and like they just have the resources to be able to do that. In North America, you can't get a scrim from like, for us, like our prac schedule used to be from like 12 o'clock, and then we would do theory for 3 hours, and then the first scrim that we could get was from 4. So any other time you couldn't scrim, but if you go to Europe, you can scrim whatever time you want, so you're able to work harder as an individual and as a team. So I would say like that's the only big difference to why I would say EU works harder than North America.
The touch base in the South Africa scene. Is there any like South African prospects we should be looking out for?
I would say there's only one person. There's one person that I always like mention, because like this is a question that I get like asked a lot, and it's just I have respect for this guy in terms of his work ethic. He like plays like a lot of the game, like his name is ADM. I don't know if like a lot of people know him, but he is someone that works really hard. I don't know if his like goal or what he wants to do is still to be like to come overseas, but he is someone that like I would say could make it if he like put his mind to it.
Since you play ADK, who was your favorite teammate to play with? You give me old teams, new teams, even anything.
I don't really have like a favorite teammate. I wouldn't really like. I'm just like a person that just opens up to people, and like people come to me and talk about anything. I would say like if I had to choose someone, it would probably be Fady, because I've known him for like 16 years, 17 years now. Like we grew up together, and he's obviously been on this journey with me from the beginning. Coming from South Africa, he is someone that like we're just pretty close in terms of that. So yeah, I wouldn't really say like I have like a favorite teammate.
Well, you just say like you guys, you're all connected. How close do you think ADK is with the current lineup is to make the Rio Major?
I would say like we're like there. I wouldn't really say like we're close. I think like we should be making that. I mean, we're making strides and we're improving, and we all know it. Like it's our goal to make it. So I don't really think anything that isn't us qualifying. It's just like not good enough.
Nice.
We
So
should be making that.
If you make that major, you have a signature already, or you gotta pay someone to do that?
Like a signature. I played like a minor before where I had to design the signature. I don't know cursive, but I have a signature.
You got something
Yeah.
in mind? You got something in mind?
Yeah.
All right. Since you're an IGL for ADK, how is IGLing on a pro team? How would you kind of describe it?
I think it's like really fun. I enjoy it a lot. I've always wanted to be like a leader. I kind of get more satisfaction from someone telling me, okay, like MisteM, like great call, you know, like you called great this game, or you know, you're doing really good compared to like me getting an ace. I get more satisfaction, and I take a lot more of that positive reinforcement than anything else. In terms of like IGLing for like a pro team, it's a lot different to South Africa. Like I am putting in like a lot of hours, and like there's so much more that you have to do. On top of getting the strats for the team, I'm someone that like gets my own stuff. I don't really enjoy other people bringing things because I just like doing everything my way. Which can kind of sound like pretty bad, but I just like know what the team needs and things like that. So on top of me watching demos like every single day, I'm also like needing to do the individual stuff, making sure that I'm like keeping a very high personal, individual level and performance and things like that. But there's just a lot more that you have to do. You have to read the opponents. You have to like watch the demos of the opponents. Everyone like looks at you for like a solution and things like that. And I guess there's some pressure that comes with it, but I enjoy that type of pressure.
Speaking of pressure, we have some people say that IGLing puts a strain on your performance. Would you say that's true?
It's kind of like a hard one. Some people could say yes, some people could say no. I would just say like I'm in the middle. I would say like a lot of people ignore their individual performance. Some like what Spray has taught me is that I can't always focus on the team. I also need to look after myself. So he would like tell me I need to watch more of my own personal things. I need to be finding my own individual routine as well as like a team routine and stuff like that. So it kind of just depends on the person. I never want like IGLing to be the reason why I'm playing bad. Like recently I haven't been playing good and I'm like really hard on myself, and leading up to playoffs I was doing like 2 to 2.5 hours of DM. Like I really wanted to like show that I could do something as an individual. I didn't want to just be like, okay, this guy's playing so bad because he's IGL. Like that's never an excuse in my book. It's I'm playing bad because there's something else going on. And I guess it just kind of depends on the person if they want to use. I just see it as an excuse. I don't see it as like a reason.
Now just more of a general laid back question. Who's one of the pro players you'd look up to?
Blame F. Everyone knows that. Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna mention a little on FPL since you play in it. How would you rate the current NA FPL scene in 2022?
I used to play it quite a lot beginning of this year, but I don't find it fun. Even if like people are playing for the money or anything like that, I just don't find it fun because there's people that just shouldn't be in there. And I would say like it's more about the idea for FPL for me. It's not really the quality of games. It's more of the reason why it's there is because they're getting more quantity of people. So they're bringing in all these people, and there's not really enough people trying to teach people to improve. It's more just like, okay, well, we need FPL to play, so we're going to keep adding people. It's not about, okay, we need to remove this guy because the quality needs to be better. So I would say it's really, really bad right now. I don't find it fun at all. Bowden plays it like a lot, and Feddy's been playing it recently, but I tend to just not play it or anything because I don't find any benefit from it.
Well, since Koi is an FPL admin right here, and we have him on the show, like what will you say some things to improve for NA? Like what will you give them, or Koi? What will you say how we should improve NA FPL? Because when watching streams, everyone kind of bitches on it. Like I've been watching Cooper, Freakazoid, and everyone bitches about it. Like there needs to do something.
I don't really know what like the perfect solution will be because I haven't really played it, but I would just say like the quality of people that are in there, like it's not really that fun. And I mean that's not really to blame. There's not like a lot of people that you can pick from. You kind of just have to go through the FPLC, and that's like the way in which it goes. It's up to the individual if they want to improve, and like I just think that the people that are in the FPL right now need to give the like solution and not just constantly criticize. Like when I was playing not so long ago, people are just saying, okay, like you're so bad, you shouldn't be playing. Like that's not helpful criticism. It's not really like making the person improve. You need to like tell them, okay, like this angle is really bad, you should be playing this, or you should be playing more with me in this scenario. Like that's how they improve, because the only way that it's going to improve is if you as an individual actually make it improve. That's the only way that it's going to happen. So I don't really think that there's like anything that an admin can do. It's just kind of the way that it is.
To carry along with that, I think that so we're aware of those issues specifically regarding quality of players, especially move ups, things like that. That's why we've sort of turned recently, prior to both me and Slove being involved with the FPL project, we North America was exclusively qualifier, right? You'd qualify into FPL 3, and now we've transitioned away from God, so that no longer are the most, because in most situations, the most active players that are playing FPLC are not necessarily the best players in FPLC, because just grinding it instead of practice instead. And now we've turned it into a scouting system where hopefully we're able to find better players to move up organically versus necessarily them qualifying. That being said, still a problem. I agree. And we are working on, some removals and some additions to kind of start addressing that problem. But at the core, it's like more of like it's honestly more of an FPLC issue. Like because the pool of players that are in Counterstrike in North America at the moment are decreasing at the top due to retirements or just people not wanting to play FPL or just going off and doing something else. But the new players that are coming in, the next generation players that are coming in, are nowhere near the level that they need to be in order to consider themselves like FPL ready or something like that, or even FPLC ready. We see this with a lot of the qualified players. We see this with a lot of the, NA advanced players that would historically have just been invited straight into FPLC. They're just not quite at that level. So it's tough. It's really tough when you're in between this like generational divide in Counterstrike, and I don't have a clear answer for how to fix that. That's why we're trying different. And so if people have suggestions or that, obviously feel free to reach out to me or Slove or someone. We're always down to listen, but we're hoping that by constantly experimenting with new systems and scouting processes and stats, everything, that we can start to at least reverse the problem. I think we've done a decent job of at least stopping it from getting worse, but we'll see how that turns long term.
All you can do is try. So you just gotta try until you find a solution. That's all it is.
Speaking, go on a little more on FPL. When IEM Dallas happened a couple weeks ago, when the EU pros came to NA, all the NA FPL players actually were streaming and doing videos and actually playing the game. Why does it take like EU pros playing in NA for NA pros to actually try hard in FPL?
Because NA FPL is very normal. Like it's every day. It's the same thing. Nothing changes ever. And so naturally, you're going to have players that are more engaged with FPL when it's different. And in addition to that, the Europeans that came here and played North American FPL enjoyed it infinitely more than European FPL, to the point that a lot of the practices that we have here was adopted over in the European hubs, because the general mindset behind games where they were a little bit more casual, and the communication was being native English speakers was a bigger benefit than player skill was noticeable.
Yeah, when the Europeans came, I streamed and played, but I just got a lot of fun from it, because it wasn't like whenever I played FPL, it was always kind of like I had to call. Like I couldn't just chill. Like a lot of the time, it was just people looked at me to call, and even though it's a pug, it's kind of like we're losing 11-0, so I need to start doing something about it. And when the Europeans came, it was just kind of, they were saying, okay, I'll flash this for you, let's do this, or it was just fun. Like it felt like a match, I would say, because it wasn't dumb things happening where people are rushing through smokes or someone's just doing something really bad. Everything just felt calculated, and I don't know, it was just like a lot more fun. That's pretty much like the basic answer.
Yeah.
I missed some stuff outside CS. Like, what do you like to do outside CS? Like favorite sport, favorite like hobby, stuff like that.
I mean, I don't know. I'm away from like my family and stuff, so all I'm doing is just playing CS. I only play CS. I would like sometimes play other games like World of Warcraft. Like that's just like a chilled game. But other than that, like I don't really have anything else that I can do or want to do. I just want to achieve everything that I can in CS, and I don't really want to have like the mentality or feeling like I could have done more. So all I'm doing is waking up, playing Counterstrike, sleeping, and doing that type of thing. But
You play any Valorant at all or no?
I've tried it. I think it's a really like chilled game that I would play, but it's not something that I would change like from Counter-Strike.
Right.
That's
you agree because I'm a Valorant hater. It sucks, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna hate on the game. I just think like CS will always be better, but
There we
it's always just opinion. So
but
yeah.
no, this opinion is fact. So
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
there you go. All right, thank you so much for joining, man.
Anytime.
Yeah, we will bring you back. 100%.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. So we pretty much hit the player interview. We're gonna hit a little preview of what's gonna happen. During the upcoming player break, we're gonna have some new episodes coming up. We're gonna have a podcast with some of the female pros. We're gonna have a podcast with some of the big skin traders, and we're hoping to do like a big podcast episode with some other streamers and like a fantasy lineup. So that's what we should be looking out for. And Phi, I said your name correctly this time. You up for that one, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's gonna be a fantasy like how football is. You know, like you gotta pick a player and it's like a snake, and we're trying to get everyone for that. NarT, you got anything else to say?
No, just want to thank all the guests for being here, as always. And look out for my new video tomorrow, Pro Tricks. So, yeah, gotta plug that in.
Yeah, the pro teams are gonna love that.
Yeah.
My pug teammates are gonna love that.
All right. Again, guys, thank you for showing up, and we'll love to have you back.
Can we have Phi close?
Oh yeah, Phi, you gotta close this shit
with
up.
his
All right, thank you
passing
guys,
quiz.
ladies and gentlemen, whether you're watching or listening from any time from the United States of America, the world, the globe, the Australia. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and leave it out there. I guess I'll give the shout out to MisteM's fans if they're watching this from South Africa or all that good stuff.
I'm a MisteM fan.
Oh, there we go.
I'm a MisteM fan. We have MisteM fans who are already here, who are in this call right here. Who are watching. So appreciate it to MisteM and appreciate it to Koi as well, and appreciate myself for joining this this broadcast. So,
Appreciate myself.
Yes, appreciate yourself.
Should I sign us out or?
Yeah.
Right. You're our official closer. I will pay
This is CS Out Here, episode number 5. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.